Now I want to try this new PC gaming thing, but I'm not sure where to buy my computer from. I could, but no, these guys advertised on sports, so I gotta do this one. Temu has finally gotten into the very lucrative market of flogging pre-builts fished out of the Pacific garbage patch to people who don't know any better. Now what's interesting about these PCs, aside from the market apparently being dominated by one brand, Stigabrun, which I guess sounds vaguely German, maybe in an attempt to invoke an idea of quality, I don't know. Anyway, the very vaguely spec'd system that I bought for a hair under 700 Canadian dollars was actually shipped by Amazon, and you can also buy them from the Jeffster, which did mean that it shipped very quickly, but it kinda seems like these two companies are just fishing all of the crap they peddle out of the same massive pit. But anyway, with that, let's have a look at the system. Now, other than that tear, which may or may not have been caused by one of us, the box is in pretty good condition. Now, in terms of peripherals, I got a decent bit more than I bargained for. So aside from the standard e-waste mouse and keyboard, you even get an RGB, soundbar thing with it. That's pretty cool. It's like a whole gaming setup, aside from a monitor. And if that wasn't enough, you even also get an RGB mousepad. And all of this stuff is from the wildly famous Stigabrun. The actual system comes packaged in some lovely soft packing foam, so it should be able to survive even the most violent Amazon delivery person. Now, the initial presentation will have any 14-year-old frothing at the mouth. Not only do you get more stuff than you were expecting, you get a white case with a whole bunch of fans in it that look like they've been repurposed from T-Pain's personal grill collection. And from first impressions, it doesn't quite look like an old Optiplex with a GT710 stuffed in it, so that's already put it above my expectations. Although when you start looking closer, the cracks begin to show. Not only is the PC so light that it feels like they forgot to put half of the system in it, the USB configuration makes it look like we traveled back to 1972. The graphics card has one of these bad boys, a DVI port, something we haven't seen on a new graphics card in a while, so I'm curious to see what GPU we're working with. And not to be too hasty with my judgment, but the power supply looks a bit like ISIS had a hand in developing it. Wait, why is that so dirty? And with that mystery unsolved, I gracefully struggled to remove the foam bit, revealing the system underneath. Now, first off, aside from the tiny little growth of a PC inside what's already not a very big case, but this is a reasonably well put together system. We've got some cables going to places that make sense. There was even some zip tie action used over here, and we've got a proper RAM configuration. Yay! But generally, putting a system together with these parts, I couldn't do a much better job. So, you know, kudos to Temu. In terms of specs, graphics card wise, we get some form of the GTX 1660 Ti, which at 1080p should be a decent graphics card. However, again, like with the outside, there are a couple of slightly concerning signs. We've got an LGA 1150 CPU in here, so it's probably going to be some form of quad core, which is not ideal. And the CPU cooler looks like some OEM crap that's just developed an MDMA clubbing habit. But that's not much of a problem because there is a lot of airflow going on here. We've got what looks like good ventilation and a whole bunch of T-Pain fans. Rear cable management was also acceptable, but I had to remove the power supply to see what kind of detonation risk we had. Okay, so it's a 500 watt power supply by vaguely German sounding brand, and I don't know, let me go Google what this is. A quick Google didn't reveal any additional information about it, so for safety, I'm just gonna assume it's an IED. At which point I reassembled the system and turned my attention to the peripherals. Wow, I've seen this mouse so many times. This is just slap your own brand on it RGB mouse. The keyboard's the same thing. I think I own about 7 versions of this exact keyboard. It's like e-waste the keyboard. Although the soundbar is definitely a unique touch. I'm sure we're gonna get some pristine audio out of this thing. On the top, we've got some physical buttons. On the back, we've got ways to plug this into our system. And then we also get 2 ways to plug it in. Although, I'm guessing this is power and this is audio, but we'll check it out. Ooh. Wow, we even get a Stugulbron splash screen. Now, in terms of venereal disease, other than what looks like Spanish Microsoft Office, there isn't really anything on this system, which for this kind of off-brand pre-built is pretty standard. Okay, now CPU-wise, we've got a 4770 in here, which is a very old CPU. It's a quad-core 8-thread chip, and it should do okay, especially when paired with a 1660 Ti, but I think in more demanding games this may be an issue. And it also means there's no upgrade path. Other than the K variant of the CPU, we've pretty much maxed out what the socket has to offer. So if you buy the system, you're stuck with an 800-year-old quad-core. Ugh. And then our 16 gigs of DDR3 isn't dual channel, but it's just running at the base speed like we're some kind of filthy casual. And then we get a 500 gig boot SSD. So with that, let's try gaming on it. Now loading into CS2 at 1080p low, the first thing that I've noticed is that there's no sound. So I'm guessing you can't just use USB to connect it. You do actually have to use the aux port. So I'll connect that in a bit. In terms of frame rate, this is low settings, but native 1080p. I mean, 120 frames per second is not what I was expecting. And it kind of dips to about 100 every now and then. Because there's clearly something weird going on if you look at what's happening there. We're just getting about 40% utilization on both the CPU and the GPU. Now, putting that aside, if you don't see the number, it does feel decent. Like, this is very much a usable gaming experience. Although, there is the occasional stutter and dippiness going on. Oh, that's a grenade. Dropping the render resolution hasn't done anything. The frame rate is just the same. I then brought up CPU utilization for all of our threads just to see that CS2 is putting most of the load on just one core, which, despite the not abysmal single-threaded performance of the 4770, that's clearly not great for gaming performance. And I think that combined with the limited memory bandwidth of our loser DDR3 memory configuration is why everything seems bottlenecked. But let's see what happens with more demanding games. But first, I had to plug in the soundbar. Oh. Wow, that is a wildly terrible speaker. Okay, maybe wildly terrible's only fair at higher volumes where distortion creeps in fast and hard. If you keep the volume at about 70 dB measured from half a meter, it sounds passable, it's reasonably clear, and there isn't any glaring accentuations in any of the frequency response. None of that wildly overblown bass that you get in cheap headsets, for example. Although I do find the strobing RGB distracting, and it's a weird choice to include with a gaming PC, because how are you going to use it to shout at strangers on the internet? Also, it's a soundbar, so you have like no directional audio, which is kinda useful in video games. The mouse and keyboard are about as bad as you'd expect. The mouse really struggles to track smoothly, and the keyboard has this fun party trick. In case you didn't catch that, every time you press a key, the entire keyboard rattles like an 85-year-old falling down a flight of stairs. And then finally, when it comes to the mousepad, it didn't come included with the micro USB cable it needs for power, so I didn't see what the RGB looked like on it, but it's so tiny that I immediately had to get rid of it when playing Dota. Anyway, with that, back to the gaming performance. Ooh, Cyberpunk at 1080p high is actually using more of the system, although we are skirting up against a CPU bottleneck. It kind of depends. Ooh. It kind of depends on the scene, what's happening around us, but yeah, they kind of hand off between the two of them. So yeah, I mean, I guess that means it's a good pairing. they hold up together well. Temperatures are also very good, especially considering that it's like 800 degrees Celsius in the room I'm in at the moment. So yeah, that's good. Not surprising at all though. We don't have very high power draw components, and we basically have a fully mesh case with a bunch of T-Pain's grill in it. Ooh, well, The Last of Us at 1080p medium is giving us similar performance to Cyberpunk at 1080p high. So yeah, the system is perfectly usable for even more demanding games these days, and medium still looks good. Although, if you look at the frame time graph, it is a bit choppy and you can definitely feel it. It's not the smoothest experience ever. So at the end of the day, the Temu Amazon system was quite a bit better than I was expecting. Although I was kind of expecting a system that was just gonna jump out at me and lay eggs in my face when I opened the box, so it's not a super high bar to clear, to be honest. But instead you're getting a system that for the price could have been a lot worse. So let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below. I do want to do a follow-up video where I upgrade the Temu system using Wish parts. I think that should turn out pretty well. And yeah, with that, thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel for a complimentary sense of self-satisfaction. And until the next video, bye-bye.